Modern survival culture is built on confidence in equipment. GPS units, water filters, synthetic clothing, and battery-powered tools promise control over environment and risk. Most of the time they work, but history and recent disasters show that when systems fail, the people who survive longest are not the ones with the most gear, but the ones who know what to do without it. Ancient survival skills were developed in a world where failure was expected. Tools broke, supplies ran out, weather ignored plans. What mattered was the ability to adapt using knowledge that required no electricity, no resupply, and no specialized equipment. Calm decision-making comes before any skill. Every historical survival account begins with behavior. Panic kills more reliably than hunger, thirst, or cold. Ancient travelers were trained to stop, assess, and stabilize before acting. That habit alone preserved energy, reduced injury, and prevented compounding mistakes. Practically speaking, this means you should halt movement if you're feeling disoriented, injured, or exposed. Just sit down for a moment. Slow your breathing. Next, identify any immediate threats, whether that's heat loss, dehydration, exposure, or injury. Only after you've addressed those should you even think about moving again. And this skill requires no tools at all and honestly applies in every environment. Ancient shelters, interestingly enough, were built based on position rather than materials. Survivors learned to read the wind, the slope of the land, the angle of the sun, and even the ground moisture. A rock face on the lee side of a ridge, a shallow depression insulated with vegetation, or a snow wall placed just right. All of these could provide far more protection than a poorly placed tent. So in practice, this means you should always prioritize location over construction. Choose ground that's above cold air drainage, well away from flood paths, and out of the prevailing wind. Always insulate yourself from the ground before you even start thinking about overhead cover. These sorts of decisions, believe it or not, can save lives when tarps and tents just aren't available. Fire, at its core, is really about fuel control, not just ignition. Modern fire starting, it often focuses on ignition devices, but ancient firecraft, well, that was really all about fuel preparation. Survivors learned to identify dry inner wood, resin-rich materials, and natural tinders that would work even in wet conditions. So, practically speaking, this means you're better off spending more time processing your fuel than just trying to spark flames. Split wood to reach those dry cores. Make sure you gather multiple grades of fuel before you even think about lighting a fire. And don't forget to shield your fire from the wind. Honestly, these steps matter more than matches. When it comes to water management, it's really about preventing loss rather than just finding more. In ancient survival, the emphasis was on controlling water loss rather than constantly searching for more. Loose clothing, making use of shade, pacing your movement, and even disciplining your breathing through your mouth. All of these conserved hydration. Snow and dew were used carefully too, just to avoid unnecessary heat loss. Today this means reducing exertion, resting in shade, covering your skin in hot environments, and limiting unnecessary movement. Water filters are helpful, but honestly, behavior determines how long your water lasts. Before compasses and GPS, people navigated using landmarks, water flow, vegetation, and celestial cues. They avoided improvisation because getting lost was, catastrophic. So, practically speaking, this means, learning how to read the land itself. Valleys tend to funnel your movement, ridges can help guide your direction, and rivers, more often than not, will eventually lead you to people. If you ever find yourself disoriented, the best thing to do is just stop and reorient, rather than wandering aimlessly. Moving without being sure of your direction only wastes energy and, honestly, increases your risk. Ancient survival wasn't about aggressively chasing calories. It actually favored low-risk, low-energy methods that could be sustained. Having durable tools and knowing how to keep them in good working order was absolutely key. Traps, foraging, fishing, and a bit of scavenging almost always beat pursuit hunting when it comes to survival. Hunger was, at times, tolerated just to avoid injury. Ancient survivors, they relied on just a handful of durable tools, ones they could maintain pretty much indefinitely. Cutting tools, containers, cordage, and of course fire knowledge made up the core kit. Everything else really was optional. And today, well, this means knowing how to keep going even if you lose your tools. Carrying skills on your body and in your head, honestly, matters way more than having endless backups in your pack. Power outages, equipment failure, getting separated from your gear, or even facing extreme environments, these things still happen. Ancient skills have lasted because they work under the worst possible conditions. Sure, modern gear can extend your capabilities, but those ancient skills, they're what preserve life when that extension fails. Survival has, always favored adaptability, restraint, and clarity rather than complexity. When our modern systems break down, the old rules come back immediately. So, if you value practical survival knowledge, grounded in what's actually worked for thousands of years, do subscribe to the channel and share this with others who understand that real preparedness starts long before technology ever enters the picture.